Hello, Kathy. Well,
Hello, Jen.
would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, I'm Kathy Gates, and I am a licensed clinical therapist and a trauma expert and a woman's coach. I do a lot of women empowerment coaching, and I took a year off to do self-care, and that's what led me to writing this book.
And I know your story, it hit right around the time when there was a whole lot of things happening in your life that you took this year of Kathy for yourself. Do you
Mhm.
want to give us a little bit of a setup of what happened? Because I think it's really quite relevant to the things that many women are facing right now.
Between my 49th and 50th birthdays, I declared a year of self-care because I was feeling really burnt out. My father was diagnosed with cancer, and my marriage was kind of falling apart. I was at a job that I really didn't like, and I just had been going for so long, doing everything for everybody else, that I really needed a break, and I needed to reconnect to myself, and I needed to do something radical. So I declared a whole year of self-care, and every month I did something for myself. Some of it was about letting things go. Some of it was challenging myself to reach beyond what I thought I could do. Um, and so this chapter came out of that year.
You want to
Just
give us a little glimmer of where it took you without ruining the punchline? But I know it led you to, tell us where it led you to, where you found yourself.
I found myself um, recognizing that I was carrying so much more emotional baggage than I realized, and that I had lost my faith in myself, and that I felt like I needed to prove to myself that I was still worth it, that I still had value. Um, and I did a lot of restoring in natural places like national parks and the beach. And I did a lot of movement through the body. I met a lot of people that helped me, connect what I was thinking to what I was feeling. And I found myself standing at the edge of a fire walk, and, wondering if I had the courage to walk through it. Uh, and that was such a pivotal moment, that's what I wrote the chapter about.
And it is such a powerful moment, right? Reading about you standing on the edge of this firewalk, on this firewalk, and knowing what you had already, having read some of what you had already gone through. I'm wondering if you doubt, like how you faced doubt in that moment. How did you like arrive to that moment and choose that this had to be the, like, with doubt and with fear and with uncertainty, that this was something that you had to do? Like, what did that feel like coming to that moment?
Yeah. I think I faced out a lot during this whole year, and I made a commitment to meet myself with compassion, and whatever arises, that would be fresh, and I would meet it with compassion and curiosity. So a lot of fear, doubt, self-criticism, all of those things showed up, of course, in spades. And just being willing to get curious about that, and recognize how much of my conditioning was really in effect right there, and how much like I'm saying, this emotional baggage that I was carrying that I wasn't really even aware of until I was at those moments where I thought, oh my God, what am I doing? Can I do this? And yet at the same time, it was such a empowerment of, like, I have to do this. Like, it was such a drive forward that I needed something radical, and I needed something big, because my life was radical, my life was big, and it was messy, and I needed something that would just capture all of that. And so a fire walk it was, you know?
And how has that become soul food for you, even now, years
Oh,
later?
yeah. Well, one thing I think that happened during this process is this sisterhood that I just met these amazing women along the way that were just such a part of the fabric of it all. And I recognized I wasn't alone and that I had support, and I had support in strangers and in people that I never would have dreamed. Um, and the soul food for me is really just this knowing, kind of like in the body, in the gut level knowing that I'm going to be okay and I can do it. I can do hard things, as simple as that sounds. It's so profound when you're looking at a really hard thing and no one else is there and it's just you. And especially something like a firewalk that I don't have to do. And so it would have been easy for me to get there and just be like kind of disappear into the crowd and not actually do the walk. But to stand at the edge of a hard thing and to really decide that you need to do this, and then to know that you can, is food that just feeds you for the rest of your life. Because even these minor things I've faced since then, I'm like, I got this. Like, I can do this.
Isn't it
So
really incredible how like those significant milestones that we meet along the way, like the choice to walk on fire or not, gives
yeah,
so
and some
much perspective to something else like that, like,
completely.
yeah, that it just,
And
this doesn't even matter.
right. And sometimes I think I've always been one of these kind of people who has to kind of do it for myself or learn it for myself, an experiential learner. And the firewalk was something that I had to experience to really get the full effect of it and to receive it, to know it. And I think sometimes that also reminds me that I don't have to do the hard things to know the hard things. So like just doing that, it was so important and it was really powerful. And it does help me know that I can do hard things, but also it helps me know I don't always have to do it that way, the hard way. I can sometimes just, make a decision that I don't have to walk on fire, that I can be part of the crowd, and that's okay too. So it gave me kind of both sides of that continuum, where like on one extreme of like doing it and getting that rush and that like just discovery of myself, in a way, of this higher part of myself. And the other thing is, once I've done that, it's kind of like not necessary that I have to do it every time, and that's awesome.
Yeah, that's such a good point, Kathy, right? Because we sometimes find ourselves in a pattern of always doing the hard thing. And it's not necessary.
I have been
We're
guilty of
fine.
it sometimes, yeah. And that year of Kathy helped me to, like when I was at a national park, I saw a bear that I had to cross by, and this bear was just sleeping there. And that stopped me, like probably for 20 minutes while I stood there having this internal argument of crossing this path. And, you know, at the same time, it's like there are these things that, worst case scenarios aren't the way to go about life. And sometimes in those hard moments, that's what I do, is I just go to a worst case scenario. This bear's going to wake up. It's going to come over here. It's going to, maul me or something. And that's not true. Most of the time, that's not true. And most of the time I can rely on the faith of, the universe and my surroundings, and embrace that gift of the unknowing and the kindness of it.
So curious that you mentioned the worst case scenario planning. I am certainly I'm a worst case scenario planner. And then when I go through it, I'm like, the odds of that happening are zero or like
Right.
very small. And then,
Mhm.
but the fact that you just said the kindness of that unknowing,
Yeah.
tell me more. What do you mean the kindness?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like when I'm standing at the edge of the fire, all I could think about initially was all of the worst case scenarios, and I'm going to get burned. I'm going to not be able to do it. I'm going to get halfway and get stuck. And, things, there's like everything comes to your mind of the limitations, these limited beliefs of like what's going to happen, and not recognizing the abundance and kindness that the universe has. Like the fire gift was so much more than I ever dreamed. And that um the that meeting me like from underneath, it almost felt like support, like it carried me, this amazing power that was sort of harnessed and gentle with me, even though it was 1300 degrees, it was hot. It was it it worked with me to get to my goals. It facilitated this greater awakening.
So knowing what you know now, what would you say are the 5 qualities that either carried you through the spiral path, or 5 qualities that maybe we all need to kind of step?
Well, I would say courage. And I think that sometimes I was guilty of using anger as a platform, to confront things instead of courage and power. Um, Self love, determination, desire, and self awareness, just recognizing what I need and listening to that confirmation inside that, yes, this is it, or no, this is not for you. Um, I think sometimes shutting doors is as important as opening doors. So that clarity of knowing myself is what I would recommend. And if that meeting it with curiosity, I'll go back to what I did, curiosity and compassion, like I don't, I had lost connection with myself and I really didn't know myself. So to find out what I needed at this point in my life and where I was, I needed to use curiosity and self compassion as my boundaries, or I would get into the weeds of self criticism or self doubt or judgment. When I stayed in curiosity, there was an openness to that allowed me to go a little bit further.
So juicy, Kathy. Like just the way you said that, and it really dovetails onto this next part of me saying to you, repeat after me.
Mm-hmm.
Dear reader, if there's one thing I hope you get out of my story, it's this.
Dear reader, if there is one thing I hope you get out of my story, it is that you are worth it. You are worth it. You're worth everything.
Any last thoughts, ideas, suggestions, feelings, sensations, knowing, wisdom, all the words?
I think like the second half of life is so much fun, and it doesn't have to be completely reinventing ourselves, but it can be. And it's limitless. This idea of um, limitless possibilities, it is something I've just fallen in love with, like I am in a different stage of my life now, and it's okay for me to be different. And I, with that comes so many opportunities and so many options. And again, thinking about this sisterhood and just this universe that supports kindness way more than I do internally. And when I can kind of step out into that, it doesn't disappoint. And I think all of these challenges and different things that happened during the year of Kathy and that have happened since then, have just steered me to this point of acceptance of who I am, and that I'm a work in progress, and that I'm evolving, and that there are good things out there, you know.
Well said, well felt.
I'm really excited for this book, for this message. I'm just excited for whoever's going to read it. And, you know, I can't wait to hear what they get from it, you know, and like what they do with it. So that I'm excited for that.
Me too. That is the wish, right? That the book finds whoever needs whatever's inside from the first chapter all the way to the end, whatever chapter they land on, that they find something.
Yeah,
that they need.
for sure. It's almost like we are these, you know, cheerleaders on the side saying, you can do it. Like, look, keep going, keep, you know, keep walking through whatever fire you're walking through, because there is, you know, a completeness on the other side of that.
Yeah, completeness, wholeness. Yeah, there is something.
Yeah. Abundance that's there.
Thank you, Kathy.
You're welcome.